can't believe that I almost forgot about Ultimate Muscle, the Japanese anime adapted from the long-running manga series Kinnikuman, and a nostalgia trip for millennials everywhere. Ultimate Muscle was like Justice League meets WWE, where our group of intergalactic planetary wrestlers attempt to save the world from dastardly evildoers. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. Join me today as we step into the squared circle of nostalgia as we discuss what would become 4Kids TV's original flagship program, Ultimate Muscle. Kinnikuman Nisei, or better known from its American audience as Ultimate Muscle, debuted on 4Kids TV in the States on September 14th, 2002, as part of the launch of 4Kids TV, formerly known as Foxbox. Ultimate Muscle would be one of the channel's 4 flagship shows: Ultraman Taiga, Fighting Foodons, Kirby Right Back at You, and of course, Ultimate Muscle. Interestingly though, all of these shows were actually anime English dubbed adaptations, the first of many from 4Kids TV, as from the years 2002 to 2008, 4Kids would become the home for many of the most popular anime dubs of this era. But you see, it all started with Ultimate Muscle. Ultimate Muscle follows the story of a group of larger-than-life, over-the-top wrestlers who belong to the Muscle League, a group of basically superheroes who protect the Earth and many other worlds from the dangerous villains who would look to harm them. Our story opens with an emergency broadcast from the IWF, the Intergalactic Wrestling Federation, where all of our superhero characters compete. Suddenly, though, a stupendous fist, traveling at the speed of light, descends upon the Earth. Friend or foe, its foreboding form made the answer painfully obvious. The real question? What was it? Where was it going? And why was it here? Emerging from the rubble, the group of terrifying galactic evildoers, the infamous faction, the DMP. Destruction, mayhem, and pain, as they begin to terrorize the people of the Earth. Fear not though, for the Earth has a set of heroes, the legendary Muscle League champions. Unfortunately for us Earthlings though, the Muscle League champs are a bit over the hill, a bit long in the tooth. After 28 years of peace, the Muscle League has lost their step and are humiliatingly defeated by the notorious DMP. Enter our main character, our protagonist, Kid Muscle, voice acted by Mark Thompson. Kid is the son of legendary wrestler and member of the Muscle League and overall regarded as the strongest man alive, King Muscle. While King Muscle taught everything he knew to his son at a young age, Kid has no desire to wrestle, the kid being a complete coward and a spineless wimp, more liable to run at the sign of danger than fight, leading many to believe that Kid Muscle possibly didn't inherit the gift of Ultimate Muscle, a secret ability that's passed on through the Muscle royal family. Kid, you see, has spent his entire life as a spoiled brat, with the only thing in life that seems to motivate him being girls and, food.
With my rice, I like to have some cow. It tastes so very good, I don't know how.
Kid's life changes quickly when destiny calls, when his grandfather informs him that the Earth is in grave danger, and he is the best hope to battle super evil villains on Earth, and follow in his father's footsteps, something that Kid wants no part of, running away from his responsibilities until he finds himself somehow stuck in a spaceship destined for Earth. Kid crash lands in a little park in Japan, where he stumbles upon a tiny baby man version of himself.
How you doing, pal? The name's Meat. It's a long story, so let's not go there.
This is Meat, voice acted by Mike Pollock, the primary main side character of Ultimate Muscle. Meat was once the manager of Kid Muscle's father, King Muscle. Together, he and the King won everything there was to win, defeating all evildoers who would step against them. Meat is that classic mentor side character, a almost father-like figure to Kid in the story, who provides Kid with the strategy and motivation and words of wisdom he needs in order to defeat his foes. There's a number of other reoccurring side characters throughout our story. The main love interest, Roxanne, voice acted by Lisa Ortiz, who, unlike many other love interests, especially from shows from this time period, actually has a personality and a unique character. Her relationship as the love interest for Kid being a kind of of reoccurring joke for a good portion of the show, as in the beginning, Kid is completely in love and obsessed with Roxanne, while she is completely oblivious of his existence altogether. As well, we have another reoccurring character, in many ways the kind of rival or slight antagonist for Kid, Kevin Mask, son of the Muscle League member Robin Mask, and just overall badass, along with another of other up-and-coming wrestlers replacing the aging Muscle League people, like Terry the Kid, Dick Van Dyke, and Wally Tuscan, each being a surprising memorable character in their own right, many with actual developed backstories, like Terry, for example, voice acted by Greg Abbey, the talented son of former Muscle League competitor Terry Man and former partner of King Muscle.
I promise myself that I won't never be nothing like my father.
You know, with a few years and the right therapist, you could probably deal with these issues.
Throughout the early episodes of the series, Terry shifts from a rival to a dear friend and a constant source of motivation for Kid Muscle, who continues to be a coward despite becoming stronger throughout the series. There is a variety of other antagonists in the story, the most prominent being the group, the faction DMP, which constantly threatens the Earth and the wrestlers of the IWF. So by now, I'm sure you have already connected some of the dots here. Yes, this show was obviously inspired by wrestling, which makes sense as 2002 saw the end of the Attitude Era in WWF, what would later become WWE, a span of years which saw a meteoric rise of wrestling in the zeitgeist of American culture and really world culture. Many of these references are more obvious than others, the DMP looking awfully familiar to a certain wrestling faction, the NWO. A character like Kevin Mask sounds a lot, to me, like Kevin Nash, former pro wrestler and member of the NWO. Many of the other characters are comedically designed around the wrestlers from the 90s and the 80s, whose gimmicks and characters were often rooted in real-life jobs or stereotypes about people, i.e. the Mountie and the Repo Man, just to name a few. Of course, the Japanese are also no stranger to the squared circle either. Outside of America, Japan is considered one of the hubs, one of the meccas for professional wrestling. Their hard-hitting strong style and the portrayal of wrestling as more of a sporting event as opposed to a wild spectacle that is WWE, making Japanese wrestling a very interesting side of the wrestling world. Side note, if ever in your life you were a wrestling fan, I highly recommend checking out matches from NJPW, as this will give you a completely new perspective on what wrestling really is. So after rewatching this show 7 years later, we must ask ourselves, does it still hold up to how I remember it as a young kid? Honestly, I was kind of surprised to say yes. The show is just as silly and ridiculous as I remember, but now that I'm older, I feel like I can appreciate much of the humor that this show has to offer. The show has a fun, self-deprecating humor that extends from the fact that our main character is an absolute coward. Combine this with the many wrestling references and wrestling jokes, mix it all in with the at time crude and inappropriate humor, and Ultimate Muscle is a lot funnier than I ever remember it as a kid.
Hey, I just got it. That K on Terry's forehead must stand for kissing.
Hey, why don't you watch your mouth there, kid? If you use profanity, they'll send you packing right off this planet.
Why didn't you say so, you son of a...
The story is very much a fun comedy spin on a narrative that we've seen play out over 1 million times in the many dubbed shonen anime out there. The episodes are usually relatively formulaic, Kid usually facing some kind of a challenge to which he immediately shies away from, only to be motivated by his friends or his manager to overcome this challenge or this foe, generally surprising the audience with his level of capability when he is actually motivated. On second watching, I will say I wasn't disappointed with the action and fight scenes from this show. They often feel relatively formulaic and kind of slow, especially for the first season, which is unfortunate as there were definitely some excellent fight scenes from other battle animes from shows in this era. Its dub also has a really unique feel to it that only Japanese shows from the late 90s and early 2000s have. It really felt like the dubbing team let the voice actors have a lot of fun when making this show. Some lines being so kooky and wild, I genuinely cannot believe that they were direct translations. And overall, I'm generally surprised at how well a lot of the humor stands up to this show, even 11 years later.
If I could pick only winners, boy, would I be happy.
As far as reception goes, Ultimate Muscle was a hit in the United States, the show spawning all sorts of merchandise such as action figures and a variety of toy lines, as well as several video games spanning all the way back to the 1980s, as Ultimate Muscle in its manga form, Kinnikuman, has been in circulation since 1979 and is still ongoing as of today, with over 81 volumes in total. the Ultimate Muscle series is still going strong, and as recently as March 16th, 2023, plans were announced to release a new anime celebrating the 40th anniversary of the original television series. On its own, even looking back 11 years later, Ultimate Muscle is pretty cool. It does well to capture the feeling and zeitgeist that was the explosion of professional wrestling in the late 90s and early 2000s, all with this kind of crude humor and comedy that permeates every moment of the series. Yes, the show isn't perfect by any means. Oftentimes it follows the kind of classic battle anime format that has become pretty predictable over the years, especially from shows from this era. Where this show shines really is in its humor and its wacky cast of characters, and that absolutely banging old-meaning theme, which a young me would freak out every time they heard. And even today, this theme floods me with memories of sitting in front of the TV for hours, mindlessly watching 4Kids TV. Ultimate Muscle may not be the most memorable of the many Japanese adaptations that 4Kids TV put out in the early 2000s, but it's definitely one of the most influential for what the channel would later become. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below, did you like or watch Ultimate Muscle growing up? And are you excited for the prospect of a new, potential returning Ultimate Muscle series, potentially later on this year or in 2024? As always, if you enjoyed this video, why don't you check out one of our other anime videos detailing the anime that teaches you how to fight, an in-depth look into one of my favorite shows of all time, Hajime no Ippo. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Until next time, stay safe out there. Peace, love, adu.
A love story that might be. We wasn't supposed to happen. So much talk around us. We became numb to the yapping. It was like 05, got my license to drive. Picked you up in my pop's car, went for a ride. Couldn't no one tell us nothing. That night was ours. All the stars aligned and you were so damn fine.